can move this.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for being here for our regular Wednesday mortgage training. We have a special guest today, which I'm very excited about. Credit repair is something that if you are in the real estate industry or the lending industry, you will run into this. I'm sure you already have run into this in certain capacities. And one of the things that we want to do is make sure that we are optimized to help people that have run into credit challenges. And so we sought out, myself and also Holly, who's on this call. My Credit Guy is the name of the company. We're pleased to be joined by Jesse Brecht. Jesse, that's how you say your last name, right?
Yeah.
Jesse's with My Credit Guy. This is a very reputable company. Jesse is in Iowa, and he's going to talk about some different ways where if you have credit challenged borrowers, they can help and ultimately turn something that may not be a go right now into a deal that gets put into contract in the future with their expertise and help. So, Jesse, with that, I will hand the floor to you.
Thank you very much. Well, I'm very pleased to be here whenever I can show up in a Zoom to talk about what we do as a business. And there's more than one or two people, which is usually who I'm presenting to on a daily basis. It's very efficient for me. So I appreciate that. And I'm excited that we can take the team approach on just talking through how, specifically in our industry, loan officers and real estate agents are now looking at credit repair as a pillar of their business, right? So I think a lot of that has to do with like just the change in the times in general, and then also the market that we're in right now, just with the challenge that we've had like these last 6 to 12 months. So it's crazy, right? Like I've been in this industry for 3 years, right? So this last 3 years has been like nuts, right? But here's what's changed from when I started to now. So before, my job is always within this organization been to like go out and get more people that know and trust us and refer business to us, right? Like partners, because that's really the core of our organization. We don't market to clients directly, right? We're not out blasting the nation that we're a credit repair company. We're partnering with real estate professionals, loan officers to help them as a bolt-on to their business to close more deals, sell more houses, close more loans, right? So the shift that I'm seeing is that before it was almost like I was talking to a high-level producer and I'm saying, no, listen, trust me, those 580 credit scores, that's a great opportunity for you. You've already paid for that lead. You've already put in the work. You've already won the championship, right? Like just allow for yourself to have a process to nurture that relationship, and it's going to be a deal for you. And as I'm guilty of it as well, as top producing people do, they travel the path of least resistance. It's efficiency, right? But the idea here is that I don't want any of you from a performance standpoint to lose stride. Actually, this is going to provide an opportunity for you to be more efficient because you continue to manage that relationship, right? But not have the responsibility of educating them on credit improvement. You don't have to follow up on them. We're going to just keep you in the loop the entire time. So the other piece that I'll talk to just in general, as far as like that's how the core of our business, right? Like just partnering with a professional to help them nurture their relationships and build a pipeline of prospects that will be future buyers. So when Sam and Trisha Parker set out to start this business in Gilbert, right? That's where they started My Credit Guy. It was specifically to do something different in the credit repair space because they've been in it. Sam now today at this point has been in it for 20 years, and he worked for a couple companies. He started his own. He's interesting experience, right? But like when they said we're going to do this different, they said we're not going consumer direct at all. We're just going to and actually more specifically, it was just loan officers at that time, right? Like we're just going to go to them and we're going to say, when you have what we call a turn down, right? Somebody that's below the credit threshold where you can move forward, just let us look at the file to see what we can do with it, right? And that's morphed into now the business has been 7 years. We've got close to 60 employees, 3 different locations throughout the United States. It's machine, right? And we had to actually use tech to leverage all of, the core of our business, being able to scale that, right? So what you're dealing with a lot of times with other credit repair companies, where that negative connotation of what credit repair is really 2 fundamental things. One, bad people, right? Like they're just They know that they could take advantage of people and it's profitable, right? We're not that. Number two is that they just don't have a good process, right? So credit repair gets lumped into a lot of different categories, but most credit repair companies are just taking someone's credit report, extracting the negative items that are suppressing the score, and they're sending out disputes to the credit bureaus to try to get those removed, right? Based on Fair Credit Reporting Act guidelines, if you don't respond to a dispute within 30 days, it has to be removed, right? So there's throwing a bunch of stuff at the wall and hoping it fixes the problem. Now, if I'm totally honest with you, if we go back 10 years, that was really effective, right? Like, I don't know that it was with integrity, but it was very effective because the bureaus and the creditors weren't really hip to the process of managing that workload of finding the documentation that could prove that that person's debt is theirs, they're responsible for it, here's what the late pay waste, whatever, pushing it to the bureaus and verifying that information, right? So it was like the cart was in front of the horse, so to speak. They've caught up, right? The credit bureaus have caught up, the creditors have caught up. Like, they are absolutely going to verify if somebody owes them money, they've got it. Okay. Now, we absolutely leverage the disputing process. It's very valuable to us. And actually, these creditors should be accountable to being compliant with the FCRA. So what we're finding is there's a lot of errant information, right? There's a lot of name variations that create a mess. We understand data, right? Like, it's when there's a bunch of it, it's messy. There's a lot of identity theft that's out there, right? So like the core of our actually process for credit improvement still absolutely has a lot of value in that disputing place. But here's where we're different, right? Like, that's not the only piece that we do, and that's where everybody else falls off, which is why you hear, well, I started with this large national credit repair company that sounds like a law firm, but actually a credit repair company, right? You've probably all heard of that one. And in the first couple of months, it's like I made some movement, things were good, but I've been in the program for another 10 months now, turning the corner on a year, and nothing's changed. Well, it's like, it's because they're doing the same thing, right? Like, once somebody verifies, yes, Jessica, you are responsible for this $1,000 debt or whatever the case may be, right? Like, they're going to do it next month and the month after that. So here's where we're different. We usually, just as a standard, will dispute negative items, right? With some direction of the client on what's happened, right? We usually have to have like a real truthful, tough conversation and say, I mean, is this really yours? Do you really not remember this? Right? Like, stuff like that. But after 2 to 3 rounds, whatever's left and verified, and we're still short of that 640 score to get into an FHA loan to fund a deal for a house, we got to pivot. We got to change the approach. So our team, right? Like, they're actually assigned to a credit coach that they can talk to every single month. It's their consultant that's there in their corner to make sure that they're moving in the right direction. And at that point, whatever debt that's there, that's either a charge off, a collection, whatever the case may be, we need to change our scope of work on how we handle that, which is why we have a debt settlement team, and our coaches actually will go in, prioritize that debt, find out what extra cash the client has to go negotiate for pay for deletions and settlements. Because truly, we got to get that stuff off the report, or we need to groom it in a way where we know, because we understand the algorithm and the credit scoring models, that it's going to go up, right? So with all that being said, right, that's a lot of like long talk. Really, when it comes down to it, why my credit guide is different is because we're going back to the core of what we did. We said we were going to help people get into houses by helping loan officers close more loans and helping real estate agents sell more houses. So if that's the core of what our goal is, we have to act like it. It's in our pricing, right? It's in our process. It's in our commitment to our partners. So what I say often is, if you're a real estate agent or a loan officer that's referring clients to me, my job is to help you close more deals as fast as possible. That means we're going to get them in and out of the program as quickly as possible, because even though the client pays us, the relationship was with you. Now, other credit repair's business model is, if I can keep these people in for 6-8 months, I'm going to get that monthly fee. And then all that residual starts to build up. It's very, very good for them. Sure. But for us, if I know that I could slow play a credit repair for 5 months, but most likely I could get it done in 3. Now I'm coming back to Colin and I'm saying, listen, we got this deal done a lot quicker than expected. You put him into a home, right? How many people do you think that he's going to send to any other credit repair company ever, right? Number 2, when I say, hey, Colin, I got somebody in your area that might be competition. I know that's kind of tough, but like, they want to know if I'm the real deal. Are you cool with saying like, yeah, Jesse is the real deal? So that whole process has got us to the point where now here it is, I'm sitting on a meeting, right? 7 years later. And the only reason that we're talking to you is through probably a referral, right? Like I heard through the grapevine that my credit guy is the real deal, right? So it's been great. And so we still are in that situation where there's so many companies out there that say, you guys have such a great name. You've built such a great brand, like go national, client direct. And I'm not saying that we never will, but we don't want to have those conversations with people. Like the other kind of pinnacle of our business is that when we know somebody has the goal of home ownership, they're much more motivated to take the initiative to fix credit in order to get to where they need to be. If somebody's just trying to save a few bucks on a car loan, it's not the same. It's not the same scenario. So that's the quick overview, maybe not so quick, of who we are and what we do. But I want for you to trust that process will be followed through with, and that will be a good extension of your business every time you refer a client to us. Now, from a system standpoint, here's how we're different. If I can share my screen, I just want to, and I'll go through this super quick because I don't want to bog you down. It's once you guys will all have access to this by the end of the day today. Okay. And what this is this is our referral partner portal. So the example that I'm using here is Michael Scott, right? So if you know The Office, right? So Michael Scott would be you. Michael Scott's our referral partner. And these are all the clients that Michael has referred to us. These clients are actually enrolled in credit repair service at the top. These are the ones that have been referred to us, but we're pursuing that relationship. Okay. When you refer a client to us, all you have to do is come in here and fill out this information. Now, you guys are not going to have credit reports unless you have an LO involved, and that's totally fine. So you're just going to click, I don't have the report, right? What's going to happen is we're going to take that client, we're going to get them set up with a $1 credit pull that'll give us all 3 bureaus, and then we can give them a breakdown of our game plan. We'll do a free full review on what's happening with their credit at no cost. There is no obligation in that, right? When we bring them to the table, what happens is they realize this is a lot more complicated than I thought. I do not want to do this by myself, right? I have had the opportunity to hear how this team would approach the improvement process if I paid them, and that's usually what happens. About 40 right now, things have heated up, right? So about 35 to 40% of the people that you send to us that need credit assistance are going to buy into our plan and our process. Our conversion rate is 30 to 40% right now. Okay. When they go into the system again, right, they're going to be a lead, and then they'll convert to a client. Throughout this entire process, right, you can always come into this portal and check on your pipeline at any point. If you do so, right, and you want to check into one specific client, you can actually just click on their name, right? And I'm going to give you an example here. This one timed out, so I apologize. And then when you, this is actually the visual of their portal, right? So when they come in here, they're going to see the credit coach on our team that they've been assigned to, and then they're going to see you. It won't say loan officer, it'll say real estate agent, right? And they're going to see you, and then they're going to see their to-do list. This is directly from the coach on what needs to happen. You need to pay this credit card down below 50%. They're going to see over here that here's the goal. Michael Scott sent you to us to get to a 620 for an FHA loan. We need to open positive trade lines, pay down credit cards, set aside some money for pay for deletions. It's all there, very clear. In addition to that, they're going to be able to see that whole program overview of the status on all their negative items, right? So here, these things have been deleted. These have been repaired, a late payment move. These were verified. And then the total at the bottom of how much money we've saved them through that process. So the average customer that's with us needs like 60 extra points to move forward with a loan, right? And we're usually getting that done, again, on average in 3 to 5 months. And then during that time, they're usually saving more money with what we negotiate or what we delete from their credit report than they ever pay us. That's a standard. So like I said, here shortly, you'll be set up. Everybody on your team will get an email that says, welcome to My Credit Guy. It's got your ID and password. You can log in. Okay. Now, with that email will be my contact information at the bottom of it. This is why I want to point this out. You guys are busy. Ideally, I want you to get into the portal and refer that client over with as much detail about what's going on as possible, right? Like I even like when people drop notes in here of what's happening in the situation. They got 6 months left on their lease, right? Like whatever. I want to know what's going on. This is ideal. But if you just got off the phone on your cell, right? And you know that you told this client, hey, listen, if your credit's an issue, I'm going to send you over to My Credit Guy. They'll do a free consultation so you can get a game plan on what to do. When you do that, if you don't have access to this, I don't want that to slow you down, right? You shoot me a text, you shoot me an email, whatever, I'll get it in here for you, right? So there is no resistance to send that. I just need name, email, phone number, maybe a quick snippet of what's going on.
And Jesse, just to be clear, and Holly, you've made mention of this, but I believe the entire team of agents should have a portal login. Is that right?
They'll get it by, I think, the end of the day.
Okay.
I sent everyone's information, so they should have it.
Yeah, we have everybody set up in the system, but we haven't dropped it to automate that email to come out just because we didn't want a bunch of people yesterday to go, what the heck's this, right? So, so it'll come out today and everybody has access. Now, that's the referral process. That's who we are. That's the referral process. But there's other resources here that are going to be what I consider super valuable. So obviously social media content and your network is super valuable today, right? So we want to come alongside you to help create that content to help you be more relevant in your specific marketplace. So all of this information that you see here as far as videos, not only is this free, it's credit education, right? Like it's talking about the credit scoring algorithm or why should I let my loan officer pull my credit or whatever the case may be, all these different questions. What's the difference between a Vantage score and a FICO score, right? So like most people are just looking at a consumer app that was built on a scoring model that has nothing to do with the banking system, right? So we help them understand like there's different grading scales, right? Like Vantage is a totally separate company from FICO. Their system doesn't match up with FICO's. And a lot of times you might think you have a 700 credit score and you've got a 650, right? As it relates to a mortgage. But when you go to buy a car, it might be a 675, right? Like they're all different. So we just want to make people aware. We want to draw them in. When people start asking questions, then that creates opportunity for us. So you guys can go in here and download any of these, right? Download them. I have a lot of people right now, referral partners, and what they'll do is they'll download the video. They'll actually do an intro to it. Hey, this is Jesse at ABC Mortgage, right? I wanted Sam to talk a little bit about credit utilization, right? Boom, your content's done. You guys will also be a part of a drip. We're going to send you out credit education that's kind of from a perspective of a realtor partner that you can just copy and paste the copy and the content that we've created and post it on social media. There's some additional things on the flyer, but I'll send that out. I don't want to kind of overwhelm you here, but there's some co-branded flyers that you can build through a system generation program that we've built. That'll come to you in email here in the next week or so. But it's all here. So as far as like who we are, what we do, how to use the system, that's everything. Does anybody have any questions about that and the process?
I just wanted to clarify. I mean, that was a stunning number to me. And Jesse, I didn't know that. 30 to 40% conversion rate. We can all get frustrated with buyers that come through the portal that may have two legs of the stool. I have decent income, I have a down payment, but I don't have good credit.
Yep.
If you could convert 30 to 40% of those buyers without having to do any work other than referring it, I mean, that's a stunning number. The average has to be in the single digits, Jesse, I would say, for credit repair as a whole.
Yeah, most credit repair companies, as it relates to like their conversion into people that are committed and they're going to, invest, right? Like they have to pay to fix their credit. We're talking, I mean, like industry average is probably 10 to 15%, right? Like even if it's good, right? And so I mean, it's just a reflection of like how our business is different, right? Like, again, it's not just credit repair, it's home ownership, right? Like our goal is to get people into homes. So because we're so intentional about that and taking the path of improving credit, it's just a different scope of how things get done. Even the posture of our coaches and how they talk to our clients is different, right? It's not just, oh, you've raised your credit score 20 points. It's you've got 20 points closer to getting yourself and your family into a home. Now, when you talk about like those people, the 2 legs of the 3-leg process, here's the other thing I think is super important, right? As producing people, right? Like we're making money on what we do every day, right? I'm in that category. I've been in sales for 20 years. One of our biggest assets is our time, right? And how we're efficient with that time. And so for me, I used to be the guy that would beat a dead deal way longer than it needed to be done, right? Like that person wasn't buying, but I was like, there's like a glimpse of hope, right? And I think it was probably like the same way in like my dating life too, as well, probably not in a good way. But here's the thing. This is going to allow for you to know if somebody's serious, right? Because everybody will talk about what they want to do, but are they going to do it? And so if you get notification from us, because you will, right? If you send a client to us, it'll say, hey, we received the lead. We're getting ready to call them. You'll get an email, right? When we connect with them and we send them a contract, you're going to know. When they enroll after the first month of service, you'll have those updates of progress throughout that entire time. If somebody goes and makes the investment to put down the money to fix their credit, that's an emotional, financial, and time investment that they're going to make. You now have a qualifying point to say, all right, it makes sense for me to keep them in my sphere of connections, right? Like if somebody's not going to do that, then you don't need to be taking a phone call about, oh, I just found something on Zillow, whatever, right? Like it's a way for you to qualify those opportunities. The other thing that happens is that, and this is, I'll go back to like when I was like trying to tell people like, listen, trust me, a 580 will absolutely be a homeowner in the future. Not all of them, right? 30-40% convert to a client. And then some of those drop off during the repair process because life happens. Sure, it's all numbers. But one of the most rewarding things is that when somebody fixes credit, right, and you're allowing for that process to happen for them and you're invested in that process with them, that's a huge win, right? Like helping somebody get into their first house. The other thing is they are referral machines. There's more people behind them that have problems with credit, right? That need a solution and a path for how do I get into my home, right? And once you open that door for multiple people, it can turn into a lot of business. So that's the process, that's the system. But does anybody have any credit related questions maybe that you've heard that are myths maybe you want to debunk or anything like that? I've got 4 more minutes if anybody's got any credit related questions. Okay.
Maybe you went over this. Did you discuss what the cost is?
I have not went over that. Thank you. So we've got 2 pricing plans. I'll just talk individual. The individual would be $325 that would be due on the 30th day of service. So their fee for the first month is $325. And then every month after that, it's $100 a month. For people that are on a little bit tighter of a budget and that we know we're going to be in credit repair maybe longer than 3 or 4 months, we split those payments up and it's $175 for the first 3 months and then $100 a month after that. And then if it was a couple, like a joint file, right, husband and wife need to both fix credit, it is $525, same program, and then $150 after that, after the first month. So it's just an extra $200. We give them a discount. All right.
Jesse, I have a question. Wayfinder,
Yeah,
is that any good?
it is. I mean, here's what Wayfinder is like a computerized version of my brain, right? It's probably much more accurate as it relates to the number of points that it will increase, right? That's the one thing that it does is it says like, if you pay this credit card down to this amount, there's a 97% chance that you'll be over 640. So it's valuable, sure. Here's what I don't like about Wayfinder. Wayfinder can't have a conversation with a loan officer, a real estate agent, or a client to say, what do we need to get done, right? How much cash do you have, right? Like, what's the difference of us getting to a 620 or a 640, right? Like, how much time it's not strategic. But I like having that. And the other thing is it costs money, right? So it's like, for us, we're saying, send that credit report over. Let me take a look at it, give you a call. We can make a game plan. And that's just going to cost you maybe 5 to 10 minutes on the phone with me instead of, I don't know what those cost, sometimes 60, 70 bucks, right? And the other thing I would say is just they've failed a lot of times on being specific. So Wayfinders, what if simulators, whatever they are, sometimes they're telling people to pay off collections, which is a big no-no, right? If you pay a collection off, it's going to adjust the balance down to 0. Sure, everybody thinks that's good. It's not. There's no help there. It also updates the date of last activity, which means that negative item is now more relevant into present time, which means it lowers your score. So 9 times out of 10, when you pay a collection or a charge off, it's actually going to drop your score. And even worse, it's going to take that leverage that I would have had to negotiate with that money that you owe them. Now we've got nothing, right? If I got $1,000 to play with, I could probably get it done for $500 or $600 and not just get that, paid off and resolved, but get it deleted and negotiate that process. So they're okay.
I have another question. What are some common objections people have to getting passed off to a credit repair individual, and how do you overcome those? Like, maybe somebody says, well, let me get a few of these credit cards paid down first before I contact a credit repair person, or something along those lines.
Yeah, this is a really good question. So the most common objection is, I've heard about those guys before, right? Like, they're a scam. So you'll have to really pour into the relationship that you have with us. And if we need to connect individually even further so that you can feel confident about that, let's do it, right? So that's what I would say is how you overcome the objection. The other thing is, we're not asking them to sign up. We're not asking them to make a commitment. We're asking them to take a phone call and to do the review. And through that process, the 8 people that we have, that all they do every day is do credit reviews, they'll earn that trust. So that's one thing. I think the next thing is, if they're saying, well, you know what, let me go do a couple things on my own before I call them, I'd say no, right? Because after that phone call, you can still act on those things for paying down cards, but they're actually going to help you understand if that's your top priority, right? They may say, that's great. I'm glad that you've got a few $1,000s set aside that you could pay these down. Here's what that's going to do for you, right? But then also, this is what's going to hold you back. Does it not make sense for us to get, because here's the thing, with credit repair, timing is everything, right? As soon as we get going, it's the most important, because there's probably times where half of my day spent with somebody that is in a contract scheduled to close. They just repulled credit and their score dropped 50 points, right? And they're going, Jesse, what can you do in 2 weeks? And it's like, come on, right? Sometimes we can, right? But it's expensive. It's very time involved. Like, it just makes sense to know if there's an issue, let's have a really solid game plan as soon as we can. And I think that's really where we need to hook them into. If you take that phone call and decide, yeah, maybe I will use my credit guy, but I want to wait a couple months, that's totally fine. We have that all the time, right? People aren't ready financially. We don't want them to come into our program. I don't want them to have to scrape for $325 just to get through the first month. I want them to have money set aside so that they're ready to move hard on something that's a pay for deletion, right? So things like that, I would say. Good question, Cassie. Anything else? Okay.
Jesse, this is great. Really appreciate it. I hope you guys take advantage of this, or if you're working with us, we will certainly be taking advantage of Jesse and the services of My Credit Guy. Credit's a tricky thing. And again, if we can just convert more of these deals as a result of partnering with the right experts, I think that's a lot better than telling somebody you've got a 580 credit score, goodbye. And unfortunately, I believe that's probably 90 to 95% of our industry. So Jesse, thank you for the time. Holly, that information will be going out. And if you guys have any questions, please feel free to reach out to Holly or myself. And let's thank Jesse again. Thank you, Jesse.
Thanks, Jesse.
For having me, guys. Have a great day.